for daily Ask Reddit. r/Ask Reddit. Lawyers of Reddit. What case you wish you never won? If you like the video, drop a like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Right before taking my bar exam in Germany, I was working in a small law firm as a law apprentice. There was one case which was given to me because it was considered unwinnable, but the client insisted on pushing through. The case was about an elderly lady who sold her cat because she was too sick to take care of her. The buyer of the cat, our client, a rather wealthy lady, took the cat to the vet right after buying it. Apparently the cat needed 2,000 euros worth of surgeries. She hired us to collect those 2,000 from the old lady. She was really an unpleasant woman, to say at least. She acted without even the slightest bit of remorse or empathy. She knew exactly in what situation the old lady was because she was the one who informed us about it. Nevertheless, we won the case pretty quick, even though our client didn't have a leg to stand on. Not a lawyer, but when I was a paralegal, my boss got a sex offender acquitted of the most serious charge of first-degree sexual assault. We had a confession deed given to our firm's hired shrink locked in my boss's desk drawer. During the trial, the lawyer had me, at the time a woman in my 20s, sit directly beside the perv, so the jury could see I wasn't afraid of him. He insisted on taking the stand. During his testimony, I casually turned around to look at his wife. On her face was etched a look of horror. She, who knew him best, could tell he was lying. Up to that point, I guess she believed his story, that the teenaged employee was just after his money. I felt so gross after that, and switched to a real estate and refinance law firm. We took a copyright case to trial twice, and then an appeal, and won every time. The case was on contingency. The client doesn't pay unless you win. We have spent years trying to collect the judgment from the defendant so we can get paid. We have a judgment for our own fees that is close to $1 million, throwing good money after bad. The defendant hid his assets very effectively, put all hard assets into LLCs, got paid hundreds of thousands a year in cash and services to avoid banks, etc. He died of COVID-19 on Friday and was likely savvy enough to avoid probate. All of this is a gross oversimplification, but the TL doctor is we won a case 3 times and have never been paid a cent because the loser was very shady and died. So we will likely get nothing for the client or ourselves. I used to prosecute neglect cases in big city in America for child protection services. After a few high-profile cases where young kids ended up dead at the hands of family members, CPS starting asking us to file on pretty much everybody. I understand why, but I wish they would have stood up to the bad press instead of allowing it to dictate who they brought to court. From that point on, I would say about half my cases, even though a cause of action existed, I felt guilty for winning. Edit. Location removed. No tax ethics committed. Was a labor lawyer for some time, and we had a no exception policy against using the company credit card for personal expenses. Everyone knows you get fired for it because they beat it into you with frequent training, make you sign stuff, etc. We fired a guy who was a few months from retirement, and his union filed for arbitration. Arbitration is kind of a joke, and any labor lawyer will tell you that no arbitrator would uphold that termination, even if the guy wasn't near retirement. We won. Due to the way the pension worked, the fact he left before he reached 55 led to a massive pension discount, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, by the way, his offense was filling up his car with gas using company card because he had left his personal card somewhere and was going to run out of gas. On the other side of the coin, I had many employees do insane things like hide and sleep at work for 40 hours, lead to a 30,000 gallon gasoline spill, fighting, death threats, etc. who all got their jobs back through arbitration. Not a lawyer, I'm a paralegal who worked in insurance defense. One of our cases was trying to get the lowest possible amount for a guy who, while doing his job in a stationary car, was hit from behind at full speed. His car was off the road, the other driver was impaired, and his car was slammed into the 18-wheeler he was helping. He is forever handicapped and in a home, and our job was to get him way less than he deserved. I didn't want to work insurance defense anymore after that one. I used to do divorces, mostly. I'm not cut out for that work, but it's the job I could get out of law school. A guy came in for a divorce and seemed, by all accounts, really nice. He claimed that they had $50k in cash in their safe, and that his wife had taken it out when she left the house. His ex-wife never worked, so seemed reasonable she would take the money to help pay bills, start over, etc. 6 months and when we were finalizing property, his true colors started to show. Refusing to let her have the toaster, arguing over giving her anything, even though she hadn't worked their entire 15-year marriage, telling her she could have half of the expensive plants she tended to only if she came and got them herself without help. For reference, these plants were in a greenhouse and some weighed upwards of 100 pounds each. She probably weighed 100 pounds herself. Extremely meek woman in her 60s. The other lawyer and I finally get everything settled, except the $50k. My client says she took it. Ex-wife says she did initially but then put it back on the advice of her attorney. So we go to trial just on this $50k. I cross-examine her elderly parents, treat them as hostile, really go all out, up against a veteran attorney who had been doing this for 30 plus years. While I was brand new, I had to show my worth. In the end, the judge ended up declaring that the $50k was lost money. No one, technically, wins. 1 hour later my client waltzes into the office and pays his $15k bill all in $100 bills. I just stared silently at the money while he smiled widely at me, thanked me for helping him and then left. I quit practicing law entirely 3 months later. I still think about his ex-wife, who honestly seemed sweet and lovely, and hope she's okay.